Hello, everyone. My name is Marta Wójcik. I'm the Executive Director and Curator of the Westcott House in Springfield, Ohio. And it is my immense pleasure to welcome you to our Volume 5 of Wright Sites and PechaKucha. This has been an incredible program connecting global community. And we started this initiative in 2020. And we are so happy that it still is going strong. And we have another wonderful group of speakers who truly represent our international audience. So it is my job here to welcome you, to make you feel at home, and also encourage you to give us some feedback in chat. We hope that you're gonna let us know where you're joining from, and if you have any questions. And the best thing is to put those questions in Q&A so we can then directly facilitate that with the speakers. We have 3 presenters starting, and then we have a tiny beer break, which is something we are absolutely we need to do because of the contract we have with PechaKucha. But quite honestly, it's a moment to reconnect, to chat a little, and then we're going to move on to 3 next speakers. So it's altogether 6 presentations, followed by Q&A and some interaction with you guys. So welcome, and we're going to move on to introduce all the hosts for tonight. So I'm immensely grateful that Eric Rogers from Wright Building Conservancy is here, and so is Brian Scott Peterson, who represents Global PechaKucha. I'm in Ohio, Eric is in Chicago, and Brian is in Tokyo. So we are welcome. Hi, everyone.
Hey there, how's it going, Marta? Good morning from Tokyo. Hi, Eric, where are you?
Chicago, in our office.
Marta just said it's 7 a.m. and we've been going earlier. It's nice to see you. I'm very happy to be here with you guys again. This is always an exciting adventure.
It truly is, and thank you so much for waking up early and getting going. I think that if you don't mind sharing, we have a couple highlights in terms of Westcott House. I just wanted to point out that we've been around as an organization for 18 years. Just this past Sunday, it marked 18 years of being open to the public, which is fabulous. And I must mention again, because I'm grateful for Conservancy's involvement. The house was saved through the collaboration with the Lloyd Building Conservancy. So here we are 18 years later. Eric, we have also highlight for the Conservancy. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar, the Lloyd Building Conservancy is a nonprofit founded in 1989, and our mission is to facilitate the preservation and stewardship of the remaining built works of Frank Lloyd Wright through advocacy, education, and technical services. So the Westcott House was obviously a very important work that we were able to be involved in saving and turning it into this amazing cultural hub in Ohio and even globally through programs like this, series of Wright Sites PechaKucha that we've been doing online. So we touch a lot of different Frank Lloyd Wright design buildings in different ways every year. What you actually see there in the photo is the Loveness Estate up in Stillwater, Minnesota, designed by Wright in 1955, which we toured during our recent conference that took place in Minneapolis. So we have great events both in person and online. We're a membership organization. You can join and support our work, and you can learn more about the Conservancy at savewright.org.
Thank you so much. As you can see, a fabulous example of Wright's architecture, and it was so much fun to see it in person. I was lucky to be there. So, Brian, I think we need to hear from you about this thing, PechaKucha.
PechaKucha. We were having a little debate. We'll continue the debate at the break, but What is PechaKucha? Well, PechaKucha is the presentation format beloved around the world by creatives. It's the presentation format where we share 20 images that auto advance every 20 seconds. So for all of tonight's panelists, we've all put them to this 2020 challenge, and you have me to blame for this funny format. PechaKucha started in Tokyo back in 2003. We're celebrating our 20th birthday today. Maybe you've been, or excuse me, our 20th anniversary this year. Maybe you've been to a PechaKucha night in your home city. Maybe you've been a presenter at one. The reason that it's connected to architecture and to Frank Lloyd Wright is because it was started by a trio of architects, Klein-Datham Architecture here in Tokyo. They design great buildings, and they use this format as a way to quickly hear from their associates and architects, to hear about what was happening in on-site visits and hear about the progress of various architectural projects. And from a one-off event in Tokyo, it's now in 1,300 cities around the world. As I mentioned, we just had a big birthday party at the beginning of this year. And you can visit our website at PechaKucha.com, where there's heaps of creative presentations from all different fields of, well, really anything. Anybody who has a story to tell with 20 images can go visit our website and find some interesting content. So we've got lots of great Frank Lloyd Wright presentations, because this is actually our 5th collaboration with the Wright Sites community. This is so exciting. We've actually curated, I should count it up, Marta, but we've got to be closing to 50 presentations, or maybe, yeah, we're getting close. Maybe next year we'll hit 50 presentations. So it's an amazing archive of Frank Lloyd Wright passion on PechaKucha.com. Lots of people watch these presentations afterwards, and they comment on them, and they learn about Frank Lloyd Wright's life and legacy. That's a tongue twister. And if you're so inclined, I encourage you to go to our website. Anybody can, and just press create, upload your 20 images, and share your passion for whatever it is you do, maybe Frank Lloyd Wright with the rest of the world. And I would say finally that this year we got lucky, and we commandeered the Japanese word PechaKucha, which means chit chat. It's the onomatopoeia, like blah blah blah, PechaKucha, PechaKucha, PechaKucha. We commandeered the word in the English Cambridge dictionary. So that was a pretty exciting milestone this year. So it's just such an honor to be a part of this. We really thank you for entrusting the PechaKucha format to help spread the love of Frank Lloyd Wright all around the world. And we've had such a great time so far, and we're looking forward to this event and looking forward to many more in the future. So thank you for that, Marta. And I know you've worked really hard to curate an amazing lineup of presenters. This is so exciting.
Thank you so much, and we welcome everyone to all the speakers to come on and show your beautiful faces. We are so lucky that we have such wonderful community of people interested in this subject in very different ways, which contributes to just such diversity of subjects and content. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, everyone. It's also this lineup this year it truly represents what we see is in terms of global attendance. So we have a guest, of course, from US, but we also have a guest from Bangladesh and from Australia, which is very exciting. Perhaps for Razin, it's not as exciting that it's 5 a.m. in the morning, but he agreed to still do it, and we are very thankful for it. So welcome, everyone.
Let me touch on the fact that we've got an international crowd here. We also, so many people have left comments on where they're tuning in from in the chat. This is really exciting. We've got a quick poll here that we could go ahead and pull in. Yeah. If you haven't let us know where you're tuning in from. We would love to find out where in the world you guys are tuning in. How far does the love for Frank Lloyd Wright reach? Oh, I see people that's going rather. Wow. Okay. Wow. Very cool. Thank you so much. Marta, any other?
Yeah, you guys, we're going to give you a little second to do this. We have over 400 registrants for the Zoom, so I know that not everyone can see it live, but that was really exciting, and it's also on YouTube. So speaking of which, spread the word. Afterwards, share the recording of this event, because we hope it's going to serve our community for a very long time. Well,
I have some bad news, Marta. There's no attendees from Antarctica, unfortunately. Let's see.
yeah, we always fail. We actually lasted a few of those. We had every continent represented. So Antarctica, however, is very stubborn. So if you know anyone there, please reach out and make a point, because this is like a badge of honor to get Antarctica involved. So. Well, I think that's great. Thank you for your feedback, and we will we'll connect afterwards too and collect some data. But shall we proceed to the first presentation?
I have a couple more questions. We'll hit you guys up at the break. I want to know who's attending for the first time, and
yeah.
I have a few more, but let's go ahead and get this show on the road. I know our attendees are ready to get this going, so let's go for it. Marta, I'm going to hand it back to you, and let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and ask our panelists to go ahead and
Awesome. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Greg Maxwell, who's here to represent Harbor Architects, but he has just really wonderful, interesting background to speak to you tonight. So Greg is an emerging professional in the preservation field. He studied architecture at the New Jersey Institute of Technology and completed his Master's of Science in Historic Preservation from University of Pennsylvania. He joined Harbor Architects in 2022 and since has worked on buildings of many famous architects, including, you guessed it, Frank Lloyd Wright, as well as another spectacular architect, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, and many more. He currently serves on the board of the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. And I just want to extend warm welcome to you, Greg, and thank you again for being our speaker tonight. And all I can ask now is, are you ready?
I am ready, Marta. Thank you very much for that wonderful intro.
Wonderful. Let's go.
All righty. Well, hello, everybody. As Marta said, I am Greg Maxwell. I'm a preservation architect at Harbor Architects here in Chicago. And in this presentation, I'll be discussing the planning process and some of the steps involved in developing interventions at historic sites, and with a focus on Frank Lloyd Wright work. So the concepts I touch on all come up during preservation and restoration projects that my office works on, many of which are Frank Lloyd Wright sites. All of the projects that you'll see in my slides this evening are projects we've worked on or are currently working on. So to start with, one of the first considerations in long-term planning for a site is to understand the relative scale of time. So many historic sites may have lives that extend beyond our own, and we need to consider that in their preservation and care going into the future. Another important factor is that nothing is static. Preservation is really about managing change over time and reconciling the competing forces and various influences at a site really help you to embrace the complexity of history. So to deal with all of that, there are a series of guiding documents, and these are just a few examples of them, such as the Borough Charter, which provide a framework for developing what's called a conservation management plan, or abbreviated a CMP. The framework outlined helps to prioritize the holistic view of sites that highlights values beyond the physical fabric. So a CMP establishes significance for a site based on a multitude of values, and it also identifies how that significance should be prioritized in the use, management, and treatment at a site. So it's informed not only by the history, the people, the architecture, but also the site, the landscape, people that work on it now, and other users and stewards and other site visitors, so that you can paint a sort of large picture. So one of the first steps in any intervention is to understand the place. One of the best ways to do that is to document how it's changed over time. Rephotography, which is what you're looking at here, is a great way to compare views, fabric, conditions. We'll also examine drawings, correspondence, receipts and purchase orders, publications, and other materials. Once we have an understanding of the site and its complexities, we can begin to formulate a statement of significance, which is defined by values and that go above and beyond the architectural value. So they can have historic, social, spiritual, or environmental value. And this adds to the richness of a site. So use plays a major role in the care of the site, especially as it changes over time. Treatments and other interventions can be affected by how a site is used, and it's important to understand that a change in use can benefit a site, but it can also detract from it. So it's something to be aware of. However, all that's to say, one of the most significant steps in coordinated planning is to engage with the people who are using the site and who find value in the site, so that any plans that you do make can consider what they think and try and incorporate their perspectives into a project. So within the established process of a CMP, stakeholders and the people that value the place should be involved so that you can consider their input. This helps you make decisions in the long run, and it also helps you go back, because this is a cyclical process, to examine what you've done in the past, make changes for the future, and help you benefit any project. So when we're working on projects, we'll try and understand the site, look at the changes over time, and begin to look at the material conditions of a building, try and understand the deterioration, what's going on with the materials, what are the configurations, how are materials deteriorating, and then we'll begin to conduct research and investigation. We will look at historic documents. We will take physical samples of materials like plaster, wood, other paint finishes, things like that. And we'll try and catalog it and understand what's been going on. And then we will develop plans for treatment, and we'll assess them before we implement them. We'll try and consider what the potential outcomes might be, and see if there are any unwanted or adverse impacts on a site. You know, are the solutions that we're developing meeting the goals that we've established? And all of that happens before you get to this active intervention. You really want to have a full understanding of the place. And then even still, when you begin the intervention, it's going to present other questions that need to be answered, but you need to have that backup research and that backup understanding of the site to answer those questions successfully. And so as you go, you're constantly checking and evaluating your work to make even better informed decisions as you go through that are congruent with the project goals. Usually this is done through mock-ups, samples, and other material testing to make sure that we're on the right track with a restoration. So I just want to wrap up my slides with a few points to keep in mind for anybody tackling a comprehensive project. First, think beyond your stewardship. Many of our revered structures were built before us, will be around long after we're gone. Second, zoom out, take a wider view of the place, area, problem, or condition. Tunnel vision early on can limit your solution. 3, understand your limits. Know what you don't know and know what your capabilities are. Hire people who understand the problem, understand the site, who have expertise. And lastly, prioritize and set realistic goals. You won't always be able to achieve everything at once. So identify the major issues and tackle them first. And with these methods, you can follow a process that formulates a comprehensive plan, which can help you make informed decisions and hopefully make decisions which would make Wright happy to see. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Hope you learned something.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are absolute heroes. This is so, I think, nerve-wracking situation to be in, when those places are severely dilapidated and you have to make decisions that have to be pretty precise, and there's no chance to do it all over, because a lot of also investment is considered. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's never easy. So
thank you for all you do. And again, reminder to everyone, as we're gonna move forward, if you could put questions for Greg and others in Q&A, then we're gonna go back and make sure that we'll talk with everyone again. Because I'm honestly curious how you got involved with preservation, historic preservation in the first place. But let's leave that for beer break. And for now, we're gonna move on to Alexandra, who we have joining. I believe Alexandra, you are in Texas now, right? But I will just shortly introduce you, and we are so excited because she was a resident artist at the Martin House in Buffalo and has done some amazing work there. So just quickly, Alexandra Lloyd is an antidisciplinary artist and choreographer, a principal dancer with Texas Ballet Theater. She also completed a bachelor degree in psychology from the University of Maryland. Her works have been performed at the Modern Art Museum of Fort Worth, Steps on Broadway, the Kaizen Arts Center at American University, and in 2023, she was the inaugural recipient of the Frank Lloyd Wright Martin House Creative Residency for Choreography. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us tonight, and I so look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Marta. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. You are ready?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Great. Awesome.
Okie dokie. So as Marta introduced, my name is Alexandra Lloyd, and I was the inaugural recipient of the Martin House Creative Residency in Buffalo. And just for a little bit more background on me, I started dancing when I was 3 years old. My parents put me in ballet class like most little kids. And every year I just wanted to continue dancing, kind of up until now. I'm in my 12th season as a professional dancer. But my connection to Frank Lloyd Wright comes from my parents. They were married in the Beth Shalom Synagogue that you can see a picture of here. And we grew up with a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright related materials around the house. That Falling Water book was on our coffee table my entire childhood. So when I saw the opportunity to apply for a residency at a Frank Lloyd Wright site, I immediately dove into research, trying to figure out how I could connect movement to this specific site. And the way that I did that was through the flora cycle. It seemed like a really, really unique part of this particular Frank Lloyd Wright site. And I saw this connection to the women in the history of Frank Lloyd Wright. So I created a 17-minute long choreographic solo featuring the stories of these women that you see here. I'll go through them really quick. You got Anna Lloyd Jones, his mother, Catherine Wright, Mae Ma Chaney, Miriam Noel, and Oljuvana, his loves. And then, of course, Isabel Reed Path Martin, the matron of the Martin House. But those weren't the only stories that I told. The music for the work was composed by female Jewish composer Miriam Bauer, who lived at the same time period as Frank Lloyd Wright, and doesn't get the same amount of hype that I think she should. And there was a little sketch of my costume there. So once I got to Buffalo, I immediately dove into the work. My choreographic process takes a lot of notation, and I was thrilled to have full access to the whole Martin House complex. So you see some images here, the beautiful pergola and me in some of the houses. Here you can see me in front of my lovely accommodations. I got to stay in the gardener's cottage, and it was really great to connect to the community. So I was at the co-op, and the gardeners actually helped me learn how to properly prune flowers, and I could create bouquets just like Isabel was famous for at the Martin House. So you can see a picture of my journal here, just some reflections, and a picture of me in the Martin House. And I think the big theme that kept coming up while I was there was restoration. And in this image, you can see me rehearsing. You can see the one art glass window on the side. The day that, you can see it again in this picture, the day that I arrived and first toured the site, that window was being put in after being restored. So this theme of female stories restoration, the restoration of this place and of family, just kept coming up and really touched the choreography in a way I don't think possible if I wasn't really living on the site. So not only did I create a dance work to be performed publicly, but I also created a video production of it to feature some of the site, a lot of the outdoor spaces. So those are all images for me sort of starting to plan for the performance and the video. I definitely wanted to touch on a little bit of the Great Batch Pavilion. The architect was Toshiko Mori, which I just felt this real female energy going on there. And I loved being able to look at these images of how the house was really used. So once all the notation was done, I began rehearsing pretty rigorously during the second week. I rehearsed in the summit lawn, you can see in this image. We did have some rainy days, but it was really a beautiful location to be rehearsing. You can see another one of me rehearsing. And the costume also arrived. I worked with a great costume designer, Lauren Carmen. I was able to commission her to create a costume that really reflected the details of the floricycle that I wanted to highlight in relation to each of the women. The day before the filming, I had the opportunity to go down to Gray Cliff. Anna Kaplan, the executive director there, was running a meditation tour. It was super beautiful to be able to connect to Isabel's story in a deeper way. I also visited their grave, which is in Buffalo, and brought flowers from the floricycle. And it was just really beautiful to really get the full experience. These are some images from filming day. My videographer, Jason Bellis, you can see him on the side there. We spent, I think, something like 6 or 7 hours filming, but it was a really fantastic way to combine the choreography with the site. So we have dancing going on in all different places. This is from the very next day in the third week. We had the dress rehearsal for the live performances, and I made a connection to the Neglia School of Ballet, which was there. It's like 5 minutes down the street. So it was cool to interact with the community in that way and talk to this next generation of dancers. They saw me rehearse it in my costume, and we did a little Q&A afterward. And I got incredible questions about the costume, the details, and also about Marion Bauer's music, which was super cool to feel like restoring her name to this next generation of dancers and creators. The day after that, we started the live performances. So we did 2 performances per day over 2 days. So 4 performances total, with the full solo for the local community, as well as a Q&A with them afterward. It was super incredible just to be in the summit lawn in front of the pergola, performing this work about these women from history. Here you see me with Susanna Tejada, the curator of the house, and Jesse Fisher, the executive director. They were so helpful and so incredible the entire time. Any research question I had, anything I needed, the house did a really, really great job of making sure that my needs as an artist were met. And I'm just going to leave you with these last 2 images from one of the evening performances. It was a fantastic program, and I really hope to bring Frank Lloyd Wright Sites more dance. And I'm just super grateful that they are branching out into the artist community.
Oh, that was wonderful. You see, it's like the sites just come alive with anti-disciplinary artists. I love that. And I think, for one, I want to say thank you to Susanna, who you mentioned, because she connected us. And I can't say enough how I admire the Martin House to establish this residency program, because our sites benefit from direct contact with artists in so many ways. So what a great gift to Martin House, Alexandra. Thank you for this wonderful program.
Yeah.
Alexandra, can I say I'm sorry? The 2020 format does not do your work justice. I the double PechaKucha format for you. That I could have.
I should say that the film version is in post-production right now and should be coming out later this year, if not early next year, to share with a more global community. So I'll plug that in right there, that hopefully everyone will get the chance. So stay tuned to Martin House stuff to learn about when that's coming out, so you can really get the, you got the behind the scenes, but you can see the final product.
And I see that we actually have somebody who saw you perform in the comments, and then we have Susanna is also
I saw
there.
Susanna. Yes. Hi, Susanna.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you. And yes, I just, by the way, I want to say that Lawrence Mayer ran the Antarctica Marathon 18 years ago, and he asked if it counts. And I would say absolutely. That is amazing, and congratulations on that. That had to be just fantastic. So we have Antarctica guests tonight. Okay, so also Andrea and Udo from Berlin, Germany, they are joining us for the 4th time. So thank you. And what a great destination, Berlin, my goodness. And Giuseppe from Avellino, Italy. Oh my goodness. I just love that we can travel to those places a little bit during this event. So thank you for joining us. And we are going to the 3rd presentation. And it is my great pleasure to introduce John Waters, who has been just an amazing asset for all the Wright properties. And I'll tell you why. He's a preservation program manager for the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, working directly, and that's very important, directly with Wright homeowners and public site stewards. He is actively engaged with the organization's preservation advocacy efforts. He's a registered architect, and he lectures regularly for the Victorian Society in America. Hello to our friends at Victorian Society. And he's also a member of House and Collection Committee at the Glessner House, one of another favorite places on earth. His independent research, documentation, and teaching activities have focused on Henry Hobson Richardson, Walter Burley Griffin, Marion Mahoney Griffin, and Bruce Goff. So great to see you, John. Thank you for doing this. And
anything for you, Marta.
Well, thank you for joining us from Chicago. And are you ready?
I'm ready.
Wonderful.
And I see a lot of familiar names in the chat, which is a lot of fun, and a lot of new names to me, which is also really fun. So
now, Brian, you need to, I know that he's changing to the right screen, because we need to have your full attention on the slides. So bear with us for a second, and we'll show you John's presentation. Are you there, Brian? Oh.
No, I'm here. We're just having a little, sorry about that, folks. I think we've got a little confusion about the first slide. So sorry. Let me
Okay, that's no problem at all.
I could cheat and start my presentation in advance.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I won't.
Well, that would be something, because you have a lot to share. It's very hard to squeeze it all in a little over 6 minutes. So yes, it's just and I don't want to spoil it, because you're gonna, I think, cover that in your presentation. But from my perspective, just being with you in person and going through the house and looking at different, issues in preservation and understanding it through your perspective is so important. And I think public sites are such beneficiary of it, but homeowners even more. So what do you think, Brian? Can we?
I think we're okay. Can you guys see that? You guys can see the screen, yeah? Okay.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Right, John, the 20 slides are yours. Over to you.
Okay.
Hey, as Marta said, I'm Preservation Programs Manager at the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. And one of the things I do is I work with my colleagues at the Building Conservancy to identify at-risk buildings and to advocate for them. One of the things that's important in advocacy sort of aligns with what Greg was talking about is really understanding Wright's design intent. And I tried to do that very early on by a technique I've developed using SketchUp digital models of these buildings that can either be showing them in previous states or special aspects of them. Here we have the Coonley Playhouse in Riverside. This was a schoolhouse that Wright designed and was later added on to create a residence. So understanding how that addition, as you see in the lower right corner, works with the original building is really important in understanding the building. And the current owners are doing a great job in trying to bring back the spatial quality of the interior. Certain spaces have been closed off by former owners, and the new ones are opening them back on. And that really led me to want to have a sense of what these spaces looked like originally. This is a house in Marquette, Michigan, northern Michigan, and you see in the upper right, it looks pretty dilapidated, but in fact, it's just has a lot of additions to it. And I tried to pull away those additions to understand what is still there. And here you see under previous owners, a fair amount of deferred maintenance. Again, trying to envision what the space was originally like. And that's true of many of these, although some of them that I've done are buildings that no longer stand. The second little house outside of Minneapolis. Many of you have probably seen several rooms by the little house that was demolished in 72, and the rooms were reconstructed in different places. I wanted to understand how that reconstruction worked. And here you see in a cutaway the three rooms that have been reconstructed: the hallway, the library, and then the major space, the music room, which is now in the Metropolitan. And the next slide will be that image. And a number of these I put on our website, and I'll give you some information about that at the end, and you can see walkthroughs of these buildings. It's important to realize that the use I put these to is very different than the sort of work that the beautiful work that you'll see from Razin Khan later on. These are much more kind of down and dirty lots of times. Sometimes I do get more elaborate. This is a house that stood on Chicago's north side. I became particularly interested in that because it's around the corner from where I live, and I really wanted to understand how it fitted into my neighborhood. This was a pre-Prairie School house. There are very few images, too, that I know of the interior of this house. And so much of this is very, very conjectural. The degree to which I would even want to make a photorealistic version of this image is sort of something I grapple with. The Bagley House in Hinsdale was a house that was very much at risk. We were very concerned about this house. It had been much altered. And again, trying to give a sense of what that house originally looked like. And one of the exciting things that's currently going on, it was bought by preservation-minded buyers. You see there the stairway as it currently stands. The model version is from Wright's drawings, and then currently they are finding through scrapings that actually Wright's drawings were followed in the original version, so that will be reconstructed. The Oak Park Smith House, wonderful house. Again, great deal of deferred maintenance. I really wanted to show what this house could look like. I actually worked on this over Christmas weekend last year. And it was a lot of fun. I'm such a geek about these things. There are no drawings for this in the Wright archive, so we were able to go in, get a few key dimensions and photographs, and I developed plans that were used ultimately by the buyers, the preservation-minded buyers. Here we have a few photographs of a house that we're currently very concerned about. These are by Stan Eklund, one of our partners in Los Angeles, and I see that he's joined us this evening, showing a lot of deferred maintenance on this very important Sturgis house in Los Angeles. I really wanted to understand just how this building was put together and what the issues were around the structure of this house and the deterioration. Again, this was done in a weekend trying to figure out what the issues were. Another advocacy project that we're working on, the Waller Apartments on the west side of Chicago. This is a group of units of low-income housing that Wright designed early in his career. You can see the one unit that is currently for sale has been gutted. And this model was used to show current conditions in the gutted, how Wright's originally designed the space, how we believe it was built out. So also in the upper left, its relation to the well-known Francisco Terrace. Many people don't realize that they were really one building. And I would encourage you to go to our website, savewright.org, to the news and resources site. There are a number of animations of these buildings that you can find there that I've talked about this evening, and I hope that was of interest. And that's it.
Yeah, John and the whole team at the Conservancy, you are doing incredible work. How come there are people who dare to even think about demolishing these beauties? It's just incredible. It's just insanity.
You'd be amazed.
Yes.
And half of Wright's works are not protected in any way.
Right, that's an important. So of all existing buildings, you said about 50%. There is nothing that could prevent a developer to come in. Huh? Yeah, that's why your work is so important, because it increases awareness. You guys educate and jump in when the things are not pretty, and sometimes it's always it's a very stressful position to be in. So thank you to all. And Safina commented that thanks to your drawings, she saw the vision behind the Bagley house. So she's a happy owner now. So and I think that speaking of, we were wondering how many people are first at this event. Brian, do you think we can do a quick poll? So if you would indicate, is this your first Wright Sites and PechaKucha? We want to know how many of you are familiar with it, and it's always great to see seasoned participants as well as some new faces. So thank you. You also mentioned John. You mentioned Stan. And there are a couple groups on Facebook that if people are interested in Wright work, besides, of course, all the public sites, there is Wright Attitude that he runs, as well as, I believe, Wright Nation. So if you want to see a lot of interesting pictures and comments about Wright's work. Well, how is everyone? It is technically a beer break. Do
we have a slide for that?
We do.
Yeah. We do, but I think we
there we are, and now it's
here,
official.
It's official. It's official.
Official.
John,
I work in an architecture office. I'm surrounded by architecture all day, every day, and I'm seeing drawings. And I heard you mention in your presentation a couple of times, oh yeah, this was done on the weekend. And I'm just imagining my office mates, how hard they work on those drawings. And I imagine you must be to pull some of these off in a short amount of time is probably stressful endeavor. Or maybe it's really fun. Maybe you enjoy it. Maybe you're a fast.
It is really fun. It's how I really understand. It's, you know, they say if you don't want to understand a subject, teach it. And if you want to understand a building, try and build it either in reality or.
Right.
Plus, my parents just gave me Legos too early.
Not Freuble blocks, John?
No.
I love the concept of deferred maintenance. It sounds like the story of my life. So that might be too close to home. I'm glad my wife's not listening.
So
John, I want to just ask, there is a question from Larry. An odd personal question. What is the color of the wall behind you? I love the color. It looks like, look at that. I mean, look at the people who attend this. It looks like Sherwin-Williams Annapolis green that I have in my office, home office.
I don't remember. I painted it so long ago, probably 20 years ago at this point. It's like a blue-green kind of.
I'm sorry, Larry, that we can't answer it specifically. You know, you just need to stare enough at the background of John's picture, and hopefully you match it.
So Marta, my favorite comment is Alan Hazard, and this is for you, Brian. It's ultimately about Alexandra's wonderful talk. It says, "Beautiful, Alexandra. I think every presenter should dance for their short talk." So Brian, I think there's a future here, a PechaKucha dance where you are breaking, maybe it's, you know, maybe there's some type of movements within it, 20 over 20 and 6 minutes and 40 seconds. I think it could be beautiful.
Alexandra, did you look at any of the movements that Olga
Yeah, I saw this.
promoted?
I saw this question in there. I did do a lot of research into the history of dance with Frank Lloyd Wright Sites, and while I couldn't find any, you know, there wasn't dance, especially in the 20th century before video was really available. It's there's a couple now forms of notation, but there wasn't too much that I could find of her movements. And my focus became bringing dance back to the sites because she and her daughter, and then lots of other people at Taliesin West had a dance festival yearly for, I think, I know I put it in my application. I can't remember the number of years off the top of my head, but I think it was like 30 plus years past the death of Frank Lloyd Wright. They were continuing this dance festival. And in contemporary times, there's actually only been two somewhat smaller dance festival kind of things. There was one company that did a video work at one of the sites, and then Taliesin West had a small choreographic festival, I think pre-pandemic, but knowing that Old Giovanna especially had this huge legacy of dance there, and she and Frank Lloyd Wright actually met at the ballet in Chicago when she had left, I believe Montenegro is where she was originally from, and was learning from this kind of crazy French guru guy who sounds really interesting. And it seems like some of her training came from this, these like specific movements. He had a real routine going on. So while I didn't use those specifically for the movement, I used a lot of inspiration from the architecture itself and stuff like that. I do like to think that her spirit came through with the connection to dance there.
There's been a lot of cross-pollination at Westcott House of various forms of art at the museum. But my favorite has been dance. And Marty, you've worked on several programs in the past where we've brought in amazing dance companies to come in and kind of interpret the house through dance. And it's such a beautiful collaboration, connection between Frank Lloyd Wright's work, this remarkable architecture and dance. Yeah,
I mean, they fit so well together. Like it's architecture and choreography actually have a surprisingly similar backbone when it comes to counting numbers, geometry. So it's kind of a very natural fit, I think.
I'd like to see Alexandra performing at the Griffin's Haven Amphitheatre in the bushland setting facing Middle Harbour. So that'd be stunning. And one of the Griffin's employees Louise Lightfoot left and gave up architecture and developed dance in Australia. She teamed up with a Russian dancer whose name I can't remember, and helped establish modern dance in Australia. So there's interesting dance connections with the Griffins too.
With
Yes, so that goes to the question someone asked if you could do Marian Mahoney interpretation. So if you could add her to the many women you depict. So
yeah, there were so many in the history. It was really cool to delve more into each of their stories.
well, I think raise your tea or beer or whatever you have, and I think we'll officially move on to the next third presenters because we don't want to lose anyone. And after we obviously have many more questions, so we're gonna get back to that toward the end. But we want to keep going and give the stage to three more amazing presenters. So, we of course always need to ask for support. We have specific site that asks that you can take a photo of that QR code, and that takes you to the site where you can donate to make the next volume happen. And also, there are so many public sites in need of support. And of course, I don't think anyone would mind that I mentioned, as we this is a global event and we are global community concerned terribly about what's happening around the world. And I just, this spring we're in Poland, and they continue to be gravely concerned with Ukraine, and now we have Israel and Gaza and so many other crises. And all I can say is to avoid, just being completely overwhelmed with grief. There are so many incredible organizations that jump right into the crisis and help those in need, no matter what their political or race or demographics are. And so if you feel compelled, go there. Doctors Without Borders, World Central Kitchen, there are so many amazing organizations that give us updates on a daily basis about how they help people in need. I will move on now to more optimistic. Oh, Eric, we want to, and we're actually going to bring up another slide. I think maybe perhaps later, but here we are. Yes, so there are two slides. Okay, so this you need to mention that before we move on.
Yeah, we'll back up one, Brian.
I'm working on it. Well, doesn't want to go back. There we go.
Yeah, a couple of exciting projects that the Conservancy has had underway this year or is getting underway. The Notable Women Homeowners Project tied into the conference that we just had in Minneapolis. And the focus of the conference itself was on women's roles in shaping Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture as colleagues as well as clients. And what the Notable Women Homeowners Project did was expand that look and really tell the stories of women who have owned and stewarded and been responsible for Frank Lloyd Wright buildings. Just kind of recognizing that women's stories in taking on leadership roles in caring for these buildings are really important throughout the history of many of the buildings, and they've been erased in many cases. And so trying to kind of set the record straight. So I do recommend, if you go to our website, savewright.org, and you can see as things scroll through on the front page, there's a landing page for the Notable Women Homeowners Project. And there are about a dozen articles there that do a deep dive into all kinds of incredible stories. So if you love the kind of storytelling that you're hearing tonight, there are even some videos that are a part of that project, and I encourage you to check it out. Now we'll jump on to the next slide. And this is something brand new that we're really excited. We actually just started announcing it and opening up registration last week. This is a lecture series that builds on the kind of global community that we see here tonight. And that's a global community that was really important to Frank Lloyd Wright himself. Of course, Wright's earliest international commission was the Imperial Hotel in Japan, and this year is its centennial. So there are a number of exhibits that are happening in Japan. I think there's actually one at the Martin House in Buffalo as well, that are linked to that. And then we've worked together with the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation to put together a series of talks that is kicking off in November that explore themes that come out of Wright's work on the Imperial Hotel. So I encourage everyone to check that out. Again, if you love the kind of connections that are being made tonight from Wright's work to the wider world, then go to safewright.org/imperial, and you can read about the talks that we will have over the next 5 months. And I encourage you to sign up and join us for those. Thanks for letting me make that announcement.
Thank you. These are fabulous programs that you all need to check out. And all I add is that, check out westcotthouse.org/programs, and you'll find some interesting things. And if you're in a region, we also do some virtual programs, one of which we have tonight. And I also want to give shout out to our members who are joining us. I saw Sue from Springfield and Zoe from Fairborn and Mary Ellen from Cincinnati. There are so many of you joining in. We are so, we feel lifted up by your presence. So thank you very much. And okay, let's just go to the next presenter. We have John Reynolds with us tonight, and it's wonderful because we finally have John here. We had actually 2 of his students before to participate in PechaKucha and touch on some aspects of John's teachings. So I'm just very grateful that you are here tonight. So here's a little short bio for John. He's a registered architect and professor of architecture at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. For many years, he had led architectural design studios at Fallingwater and the Westcott House. That's why we want to highlight his work, because it's really unique and wonderful. He directed architecture graduate studies from 2001 to 2010. His research focuses on contemporary architectural theory and practice, architectural sustainability, organic architecture, new approaches to the Froebel method, and modern vernacular architecture. His design, research, and design build projects have been exhibited and published internationally. He has also received numerous teaching awards, including the Miami University E. Philip Knox Distinguished Teaching Award. John, thank you so much for being here. And are you ready to do your presentation?
Ready to go, Marta. Thanks for the generous introduction.
Thank you.
So as Marta shared, I'm John Reynolds from Miami University, and tonight I want to focus on engaged teaching using Fallingwater and Westcott House as learning laboratories, where we focus on place and craft and community, with the notion that we're going to empower students and our community co-learners to construct design narratives, to explore design theory and practice, and relating it to student personal histories. Our first project was the interiors for the servant sitting room. The message for me was, be nice to your former students. You never know when they'll give you a job. Kara Armstrong, then curator of education at Fallingwater, asked me, after working on the French border in Luxembourg on a migration history museum with my students, she asked me if we'd like to join, and we were all in. Our process begins with an awareness of the body and space, including student fabrication of the tools used in their making, situating the body, and in particular the hand, as an organ of knowledge, as Alvaro Malo reminds us. And here you see that the student identity is inserting itself in the form and function of the object. From there, student ideation explores the fabrication of the Froebel gift sets, in our case, 3 through 6. And I think you can see here student innovation and craft and the expression of the box joinery and the revealing of the contents, crafting the contents to 1,000th degree of tolerance. I've revised the Froebel method, as you can see here, taking it away from the network table in this example from gift set 6, using emotive analogs in a series of timed exercises ranging from 30 seconds to about 2 minutes, establishing a link between the emotive content of architecture and student personal narratives. We also explore traditional systems of architectural order that you can see here using the gift set 6. And so many of these act as design DNA, which are serving as the preamble to our design activity and thinking. I also have the students explore a foray into nature, and they make black and white photographic essays through which they interpret, using the gift sets, their mass space and formal and spatial logic possibilities. And the most enjoyable thing about the process is it's iterative, and I've never seen obsessive repetition, such innovation. From there, the students move into nature joinery, inspired by Japanese joinery techniques. This by Chinese student Li Tan, whose mother was a tea mistress. She performed the tea ceremony and brought us into this amazing world of complexity through simplicity. Our first project, which arose from this 20-year collaboration this year at Falling Water, was the interiors for the servant sitting room at Falling Water as part of the addition from 1946 to the kitchen area at Falling Water. And I think you can see the impact of the Froebel process here, particularly in the part-whole affinity, the organic part-whole affinity, and exploring the different emotive and sensual prospects of the servant sitting room space, and also exposing students to important professionals within the discipline, in this case, Victoria Jeffries, a very well-known preservationist, explaining the logic of joinery used in Frank Lloyd Wright's furniture iterations. We did create a freestanding piece out of Baltic birch and Carpathian elm veneer to be a counterpoint to the fixed elements, seating elements in the servant sitting room. And here you can see students actuating the project through full-scale drawing and testing. Other projects brought us out to the site to explore the relationship between site and situation, bringing our craft skills. And in this instance, we were asked to design architectural surfaces as the entrance road to Falling Water was replatted, and we wanted to shroud or veil some of the maintenance and cooking facilities. And a host of projects ensued from that. This particular instance here, part of a sculptural preservation program, in this case, trying to protect the Peter Volkos funicular smog sculpture from 1955, using 500-year-old old-growth redwood and copper in a simple language of conservation. From there, students were involved, along with myself, in master planning and guidelines to create new artist and guest housing at Falling Water. The student iterations on the left gave rise to the guidelines that would be part of a competition that I managed that selected the Petcos and later would be realized by Peter Bowen. Our work at the Westcott House began again with a warp and weft study of the plan and a Froebel interpretation of the house itself and landscape, with the objective of establishing an aggressive relationship between the part and the whole, the elements and the site. That evolved into master plan studies. Students were inspired by the agrarian grid, as well as instances of Broadacre City from the mid-1930s. And in this early master plan study, knitted together or wove together the visitor center, the solar decathlon house, and a tea house. And these were some of the studies for the early tea house proposals that were a successor to some of the early ideas advanced by Kurokawa. We worked with Peter Bowen and one of my former students, Bill James, both wonderful mentors for our students with intimate connections to Wright and the site. From there, the tectonics become more refined, and in this series of studies for the visitor center, we began in a series of woven studies in paper and wire and mesh that later emerged as a low relief study in 2.5 dimensions, with the idea of celebrating inside-outside transition and the relationship of element to whole. The final iteration studies, most recent advances, took that study into 3 dimensions and started to engage issues of the site in terms of its natural order, the topography, and looking at how the envelope could communicate issues of identity and relationship to site, setting, and the legacy of Wright. I have to close with thanking those folks that have made this possible, Marta and Kevin at the Westcott House, of course, Justin and Ashley at Falling Water, colleagues Ted Wong, and of course, my students who bring such vitality and spirit to the effort and enrich my life each day. Thank you all very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, John. I hope this gives people some sense. There's so much more to cover, but the depth that you go into, the intricacy of this process, and hands-on, really hands-on. Kids build those Froebel blocks and they take ownership and what kind of wood to choose. And every gift is different. And of course, as many of you I'm sure know, Froebel is going back to kind of an inspiration that as Wright referred to Froebel blocks as a really important factor in his creativity. So to see college students taking it to the next level is just fabulous. Thank you for your service to our public sites. It's really amazing and invigorating to have students on our sites. So we'll talk more about it, but I'm going to rush to Razin so we can continue with our two more speakers, and then we're going to have a conversation. So again, Razin, I'm so happy that you joined us despite that early time in Bangladesh. What a talent. We are so excited for you to share a few things. Only again, a little over 6 minutes. It hardly covers your body of work. But I want to introduce you. So Razin Khan is an architect and visualizer from Bangladesh. He has been working with this type of rendering for about 9 years. And he specializes in renderings of unbuilt and demolished architecture. Frank Lloyd Wright is his favorite architect. He creates those incredible renderings of Wright's lost work, projects that were either never built or the ones that got destroyed. It's his way to preserve Wright's design for future generations. Thank you so much. And are you ready?
Yeah, Martha, I'm ready. Thank you for inviting me. Hello, everyone. My name is Razin Khan, and I wanted to say a story, by visualization. Like this house, Eagle Feather, it was designed by Mr. Wright in 1940, but unfortunately, it was never built. So I thought, to understand this house, beyond the sketches and drawings, maybe I can render it, or some of the buildings that are destroyed, like this Larkin administration building, we can bring it back to life, so that the future generation can see it, to understand the design and what it was. Like this is another interesting design. It was a hotel. Like most of the skyscraper Frank Lloyd Wright ever designed, it wasn't ever built. So this was my plan, if I could bring it back by visualization. And another one, this one is Wilbur Went house. It was destroyed by fire in 2006, and I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it how it was. So that's why I bring it back. And this is the Imperial Hotel. This kind of project, we all always see in the hand-drawn renderings. We never had the chance to witness it by ourselves. Only the older generation people. So few people are there who have experienced the Imperial Hotel. So I wanted to experience it for myself, and that's why I rendered it. And it took me 2.5 years, but the hard work was worth it. I have never seen the interior of the dining room, and I think this kind of rendering will give you a good idea of about what it was, or how Frank Lloyd Wright used to design a space. So that's why I wanted to render every lost and unbuilt project Frank Lloyd Wright ever designed. actually my idea was, if I could make a digital archive of the lost work, the design Frank Lloyd Wright ever made, and the one that got built and the one that was destroyed, like we need to bring it back somehow. The most of the design are in 2D. There wasn't a computer back then, and Mr. Wright had everything in pen and paper. So I wanted to make a digital archive so that we can preserve this design for the future generation. And not every project is high profile like Imperial Hotel or the Larkin Administration Building. Some of them are small, unknown, like this one. It was meant to be in Tehran, Iran. It was for his student Nizam Ameri. I bet most of the Frank Lloyd Wright's enthusiasts never heard of this building. So these are something that I want to preserve for the future generation, because there was as you know, there's no combined or specific place for this kind of building. So that I think we should preserve this kind of architecture. And this is the Ennis house. It was built in 3D. Every brick was put on by hand, of course, in 3D. And this one is a rendering of the Darwin Martin house. And I wanted to see the landscape. It was rendered before there was any landscape in the original project. So, just want to see how it would look without, with the landscape. And this is another curiosity of mine, the Westcott House. I just wanted to explore the design, because I never been to any Frank Lloyd Wright's design. So, it's another way for me to understand this kind of design. So, I build the 3D, most of them I built it myself and render for everyone to see. And this is a kind of a personal initiative. I don't have any organization behind me so that they can support my work, but at least I can do something. This is what I think. Like the Taliesin Wong, you will never find any rendering elsewhere. So I thought, yeah, I think that we can make a rendering to, for everyone to see. And this is an amazing house. I think you have never seen this house. I don't know, because it's a small Usonian house. These are a small project that got pushed away all the time, and it's always out of public eyes. So I think here's another one, the Bergman House. It was meant to be in Florida, but it wasn't built, unfortunately, because most of the exciting designs are either never built or most of them are lost somehow. So I think by visualizing this, we can bring it back. And I don't know if there will be a museum of Frank Lloyd Wright or something like that, but I really would like to build a digital archive. So that's my story so far. Thank you.
Oh, Razin, you're gonna see so many comments. It's like, Razin, you are a rock star. This is amazing. This is the most incredible. This is, so you need to check it out, because there's a lot of reaction, emotional reaction to your work. It's just incredible.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm curious. One of those drawings, how long does it take you to make that happen?
For the Imperial Hotel, it took me 2.5 years. And the Larkin Administration Building, I think it took somewhere around 6 to 8 months. And the smaller ones take a little time, because you see myself, but I have quite a few friends helping me out with the 3D and drawing. I'd like to mention some of them, like Carl Andrew, Steve Binjani, and the person I always go for the drawings is Michael Piper.
Okay.
He is always the guy you go for the drawing. So yeah, I really wanted to thank them.
Oh, well.
Hear correctly that you haven't visited a Frank Lloyd Wright site before? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, never.
Okay, this is
there's none really close.
There may be none close, but this is the kind of just diamond in the rough that you can find on an event like this. And oh my gosh, what have we just uncovered here? This is a remarkable thing to add to our archive of Frank Lloyd Wright. Thank you so much. Somebody in the community, please get Razim to a Frank Lloyd Wright site.
That's exactly right. Yes, yes. We need to host you in United States, and Brian will host you in Japan. So we got it covered.
I'm planning for a trip to Japan soon.
Yeah, how wonderful. How wonderful. Well, let's go to Michael, and then we're going to wrap up and go back. I'm sure there are some questions for Razin and others. So let's go and finish in Australia. I'm so happy that Michael is with us tonight. Michael Thompson is a 1950 baby boomer who was born in Newtown, Sydney, Australia. 6 years of art history lessons in high school nurtured his passion for architecture. He undertook a diploma of art at the National Art School and Alexander Mackie Teacher College, graduating in 1971. He then taught at various high schools in New South Wales until his retirement in 2010. His early exposure to Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture later led to an equal enthusiasm for the work of Walter Burley Griffin and Marion Mahoney Griffin. He is currently vice president of the Walter Burley Griffin Society. He has lectured internationally on the subject. And I know there will be another, just like PechaKucha, I think Marion Mahoney is also up for discussion. How do we exactly say that name? So you're going to teach us how to say it. Thank you, Michael, for being here. Are you ready?
Okay, just about, but I feel like a little bit of an infiltrator, but I'll remind our viewers that both Marion Mahoney and Walter were employees of Frank Lloyd Wright. In fact, Marion was his first employee in the Oak Park studio and his longest serving employee.
That's right.
Okay, but so I think I'm ready to go.
I'm going to let you start. Thank you so much.
Okay, in 1912, soon after the Griffins won the international competition for the design of Canberra, on the top left, they conceived 3 dramatic cliff edge houses above Willow Creek as part of their development for Mason City. The one that was built, the stunning Melson House, shown here in Marion Mahoney Griffin's exquisite rendering. Joshua Melson was a discriminating client. He had earlier rejected a design by Frank Lloyd Wright. The east facade, ruggedly expressive limestone cladding, splayed mullions and distinctive keystone voussoirs in concrete, plus this bespoke concrete lantern. The house is one with nature, perfectly melding into the landscape, its north facade seeming to grow directly from the cliff face, modern, yet at the same time primal and ancient. These are Edgar Kaufman Jr.'s words. He was actually describing Falling Water by Frank Lloyd Wright, but it applies so much to the Melson House here. Falling Water, of course, is 23 years later. The three levels of the west facade, a muscular expression of stone and concrete combined with glass and timber. We see the basement, living and dining and kitchen level in the middle, and bedrooms on the top. The garage is drive-through. The art glass windows here and elsewhere in the house repeat the downward thrust of the concrete voussoirs. Okay, looking at the interior. From the front door, you have to make two right-hand turns before reaching the expansive living room. The massive stone fireplace, room dividing the dining room from the living room, has keystones to match the voussoirs. The dining room shows the indirect lighting, the cove lighting, and here's the door to the balcony. And one window, original window, not all of them survive, and Walter's own window adjuster, patented in 1917. Wayne Andrews described the Melson House as one of the most irreplaceable houses of the 20th century. And Wright would have been aware of this from 1913. Now we travel some 14,000 kilometres to the other side of the globe to explore the Griffin's Castle Crag in Sydney, Australia, and the equally iconic Fishwick House. The house is sited amongst boulders, facing a small cul-de-sac that had been cut through the rock with a bush roundabout. The cave-like garage was similarly excavated from the rock and has 6 glass panel sliding doors. The entry is through this narrow, often dark passage with an intriguing glow shining through the front door, with a courtyard off to the left. It's off to the right, sorry. Once inside, you enter a vast and wide hall with 8 columns made from repurposed standard spun concrete water pipes and a severe freestanding stone fireplace with an arched window, revealing the view beyond. The space flows around into the living room, which has panoramic views of Middle Harbour and the Pacific Ocean. And the view and the light is the source of that glow that shines through the fireplace and then to the front door. The dining room skylights were originally fish tanks that created shimmering shadows and reflections on the walls. From here, you can look across the hall to the study when the doors are open. The wall screening the stairs has this diagonal sweep of tiles and glass, which express the function of a staircase with a skylight above in the top right picture. The downstairs study on the left, below that, 2 pictures of the maid's room that faces the street, and then 3 pictures of the master bedroom. The windows here receive light throughout the day. The master bedroom ensuite with a sunken bath, then 2 photos of fireplaces in the other bedrooms, one with a Griffin timber ceiling light and the skylight for the powder room off the entry hall. The Fishwick House, together with its US counterpart, the Melson House, exemplify the Griffin's creative ability to organically meld architecture into the landscape. and possibly this one is the Griffin equivalent of falling water in Australia.
Bravo, that is so wonderful. It's so wonderful to go into the work of architects who work so closely with Wright and who deserve their own place. And definitely, you know, it's wonderful to see that there's so much work done on Marian's legacy, because she was kind of and for the longest time she was not acknowledged for her splendid work. So thank you, Michael. And I need to take this opportunity and also thank you. Virtual sphere is wonderful because Michael happened to view one of our programs, and he saw one of the photos at the Westcott House, and he asked me, do you know the photographer who did this photo? He was able to see it based on a signature on a original photo of Orpha Westcott, and that led us to discover who was the architect, which is another very, very fascinating story. So all those connections being made here are really, truly remarkable. I cannot keep up with comments and questions. There is so much, and just so you know, we're going to preserve it. It's like a whole thesis here in chat. There's so much information, valuable information. So we're gonna save this chat and share it with you guys.
I think we do have to ask Michael, are you in a Walter Burley Griffin design building right now?
I wish I was. This is just a screenshot, but it is Marion Marnie's design for the Adolf Mueller House in Milliken Place in Decatur in Illinois. Her masterwork, I guess, in America. My own house is a shambles, so I'm
Don't let
to hide behind this screen.
let the truth get a good story. You could really be there. You might as well be there. We all until Eric asked.
Okay, neglected maintenance, yes, another story.
There is a question from the audience. Is there a website that lists Frank Lloyd Wright houses that are open to the public? Which I think Eric can easily answer for you. There is another question. Razin, how many renderings have you done and how many to go? That's a good question.
I have lost count, honestly, but of course there's hundreds of projects, so I have no intention of stopping.
And which software are you using? People are asking.
I'm using the same software as Mr. John Waters, SketchUp, and
okay.
For the rendering I use Lumion mostly.
Well, this is the people are really excited about all this work. I think that let's see, we have there was question about funding, and it was directed to Greg, but I'm struggling because it was in chat. That funding is always a consideration for projects that you take on, of course, right? And even assessing properly how much investment is needed is very tricky.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons. One of my recommendations was to prioritize, because you can't always deal with every problem at once, and so you really need to understand what all of the issues are, so that you can make informed decisions about what best to spend your money on. To get the most bang for your buck.
I might add to Alexandra again that the Floricycle Garden was a collaboration between Frank Lloyd Wright and Walter Burley Griffin, and he was, I believe, he was the supervising architect for the Martin House, and he drew up the plans for the Floricycle, and his botanical knowledge was far superior to Frank Lloyd Wright's at the time. So he selected and specified all the thousands of individual plants and trees. So there's another Griffin link to your performance. So.
Yeah, Susanna did tell me a lot about how Frank Lloyd Wright kind of wasn't driver of the floor cycle and was kind of begrudging to the whole thing of it probably. And it was really a combination. And also Isabel's persistence to having true landscaping. The conservatory indoor gardening was not enough for her, and she really wanted to have someone come in who could offer that. It's a really, yeah, I think that's probably also why we don't see as many of those landscape architecture features of Frank Lloyd Wright houses, is because it was other people coming in and kind of helping out with that. So a cool connection there.
Mhm. I wonder, do you guys know of any specific collaborations between Frank Lloyd Wright and poets? It's a question I can't answer at the moment.
Well, he was good friends with Carl Sandburg. I don't, there probably people know out there who know a lot more about the degree that that relationship went. I don't know that there was specifically a collaboration, but they were very good friends.
It's kind of fascinating, and another really interesting connection that while I don't know about Frank Lloyd Wright himself, the Martin House actually selected 2 creative residents this year. And while I was first and I went in June, they just had one in the last month, Jessica Mehta, who is a poet. And so just another connection there between the work they're doing. So certainly they are bringing in poets and people who do that kind of creative work into the site. So people should check out her work too. I'm sure the Martin House site has more on her.
That is just wonderful. All those different types of art introduced in those spaces. It's so enriching. Any questions from the speakers, or any final comments? I know that Brian will make us take a photo because that's our tradition, right?
Yes, but Marta, you had said in response to John's presentation, these kids do this, and when I heard that, I was a little bit like, oh, is this are kids only allowed to study Frank Lloyd Wright? And I was just wondering, I would love to be a student in one of your classes, John. You seem like would be a great professor to learn from. Is there any opportunity to see your syllabuses or to study your classwork online?
Sure, I'm happy to reach out. Anyone that reaches out, happy to exchange. There's opportunities for us to do that either through our website or my contact information directly. But hoping to do more workshops. Marta and I have been collaborating for 15 years. Doing design education workshops for different populations, from secondary students to adult populations. I do workshops at Falling Water as well, depending on, post-COVID, we've been getting back into the groove, so to speak. And we also have organized symposia at Falling Water as well. And even online, for those that are interested in some of the activity, it's been posted vis-a-vis Falling Water's website on YouTube. So we've had a couple of global webinars celebrating both the student work and then my colleagues across the globe that are interested in some of these questions. So I'm happy to share in any way that I can, and just grateful to have this opportunity.
You have a student here in the chat that says, I'm a student of John Reynolds and he's the best.
Shout out. She was in my graduate theory class, one of our recent graduates from the MArch program, and one of the hardest working and dedicated souls out there. So Sania, here's to you.
Yes, and we saw the application of this college program into in a high school, on a high school level, and it works amazingly. So and we also have adult classes with John as well. So they have a sample of his teaching method, and that's the thing. It's so important that architecture schools these days do go back to it. Sometimes it's really hard to highlight Frank Lloyd Wright, and there's so much to learn there. So we are very, very much appreciate whenever a professor can dedicate their attention to this subject.
One other quick follow-up, Marta, for those that may be interested, there really wasn't time in the brief format to talk about the revisions to the Froebel network, freeing it from the network table and looking at the translation of forms of life, beauty, and knowledge. 2 recent publications that might be of interest to people that are curious about this strategy. The Bloomsbury Handbook to Froebel will be published out of the UK, and it's going to be on the shelves in November, and there are 48 contributors. So it's a wonderful group with Helga Vosmuth and Tina Bruce. I mean, just a wonderful collaborative effort coming out of the UK, and that'll be available in November, as well as an anthology edited by Samantha Kurkowski, Theory and Tactics of Architectural Design. So there is research there if anyone is interested in this translation of the Froebel process.
Thank you so much. It's so timely also when it comes to early childhood education too, and the whole idea of reintroducing play. We got to be so serious as a society, and poor kids are suffering as a result of it. So we see again, going back to some of those methods and introducing it on that level is really a great experience for the kiddos. So. Oh, this is a lot, guys.
Okay, I just, we're
Oh,
still,
yeah, we're still here. So,
okay, I was going to ask Greg whether his firm's going to do the paintwork restoration for the Griffin House in Louisiana, in Monroe, the Cooley House.
That is to be determined. I don't know.
Okay,
We
all
did
right.
send in qualifications for it, so
Okay,
I've yet to hear anything.
I think so. But so I might just give a little plug for the Cooley House. That's the only Griffin house in America that's open to the public as a a long way away in Monroe, Louisiana. They've got a National Parks grant, a very, very modest amount, only hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions. I think that'd be a wonderful site for Alexandra to dance at as well.
by the way, is it Mani or Mahoney?
Well, there's about, I just say Mani, but I think you can have a little slight emphasis on the H. It's certainly not Mahoney.
Oh, well, should we take a photo?
Yes, I just wanted to say real quickly that if we didn't get to your question, as Marta mentioned, we will archive all of this and we will direct your questions to the individual presenters. You're most welcome to reach out to them individually. On the PechaKucha website, we'll archive all of their presentations and we will continue to spotlight them on the global stage, on our front page and social media and so on. So give us a few days after that. But if we didn't get to your question, sorry, we're definitely curious about it, but we will get to it afterwards. And yes, as Marta said, I do we love to take in the traditional PK tradition, a big group photo. So to close this amazing session out, I'm going to ask for a big smile from all our presenters. Just give a big smile at your camera. And let me just get a couple of screenshots here. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. One more for good measure. All right. Frank Lloyd Wright. Yes, we love you. It was amazing. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you. This was just amazing. I think we got such a wonderful just depth of diving in from so many different angles into this subject. I so loved every single presentation and the immense work and thoughtfulness that is all behind all those endeavors. It's just incredible. Thank you. Thank you all. We people are continue to post comments and questions, so we're going to need to dissect that and make sure that we answer everyone. But so much excitement for your work and contributions. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening, wonderful day, because we have people from all over. So thank you for joining despite perhaps inconvenient time and being here with us for almost 2 hours. Look at that, 6 presentations. We think that we can do it in an hour. There's just no way. Too much to talk about. So thank you guys for sticking with us. Oh. Best wishes and to the next till the next one, right?
Let's do it. Hey, bye, everybody. Thanks so much. So
Bye.
long.
Marta.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
you.